Ross, John, lovely to see you both. Thanks for taking the time. Let's talk about that win against Brentford. John, for you, how needed was not just the win, but the way you did it as well?
It was much needed. Obviously, eight games without a win, I think it was. So that's probably the longest run in a long time at the club we've had without a win. So, especially at home, we were disappointed with the Bournemouth game, the Palace game, how the Bournemouth one ended and how we managed the Palace game. So we had to get back onto winning ways. But the manner of the performance in the first half was really good. So we had a point to prove to ourselves first and foremost, but to everyone else that we were still a force to be reckoned with.
For Ross, Unai said recently that you're not surprised anymore as a team. You know, people are starting to, or other teams are starting to understand how you play now this season. So how do you adapt to that when teams are maybe preparing differently for Villa this season?
Well, from last season, maybe from an outsider, I was playing for Luton. You know, it was maybe a surprise that Villa finished so high in the table. But you know, the performances, 15 games at home unbeaten, you know, racking up the points, massive wins at home against Man City, drawing against Liverpool 3-3. So the performances were there. It was just more like, at times, the club's done so well under Unai for 2 years. Went through a little bit of a dip in the last few weeks here. So, sometimes that does come, and sometimes you do need that. So we've remained positive. We've came out of it now with a win, and hopefully now we can maintain that, like I say, and just keep building from that. We've added new players, myself, Amma, who's performed well when he's been in the team, and we took on new roles, and players from last season have left, and new additions, so we've had to adapt a little bit, and hopefully we're in a process of becoming a better team again. So yeah.
And you talked about being at Luton last. It's a nice little segue into your first season back here at Aston Villa. What was it like to come back to Villa, where you'd been on loan before, and why Villa, I suppose, for you?
It was a no-brainer after I spoke to the manager, and the development of the club. Fighting for the Champions League from last season, me watching over, and just the chance to be in a top side again. Fighting for the top of the table, with high expectation. So for me, no-brainer, playing for a top manager and being back at the club from I'd been up in the past.
And John, I mean, what was Ross Barkley like 4 years ago to the Ross Barkley you see next to you now?
Pretty similar, to be honest. Obviously we're both a wee bit older. He's not got any grey hairs, I've got the grey hairs. But brilliant to have him with us. The manager obviously spoke to me about him a lot last season. He was someone that the manager wanted here. He moved quickly to get him, because there was obviously a lot of interest after his season last year. But always good. We got on well a few years ago when he was here, and it's just the same now. So brilliant to have Ross on board, and he certainly added a lot to the team.
Did you stay in touch after your loan spell, or when you first came back? What was that kind of seeing each other back?
It was weird when he went to France. He was texting me back in French, so we kept in touch. And when I heard that we were interested, I gave Ross a message and said, "Do you fancy it?" But he never gave much away. So when I saw the jersey, that's when I knew eventually.
Nice. I mean, and what was that like to get that from Mr. Super John McGinn?
No, it was good. It was a bit of a surprise, but yeah, I played against Villa last season at Villa Park, and the way that the team played was, I left the game thinking, I would have loved to still be at the club playing in this team, and and it just happened quick. And after I spoke to John, he said the manager's interested in me, and I was like, I was on board straight away. So yeah, and it just obviously had to put in the performances for Luton and try and help the club stay in the league, and then things happen quickly.
Absolutely. And looking ahead to Southampton this weekend, I did want to ask you about one player, Ross, and Tyler Dibbling. Been super impressive this season, just 18 years old. And he's of course getting a lot of attention because he's been so good. I just wonder, for an 18-year-old up-and-comer English player, what advice, because as you were starting your career, you had a lot of attention at that age. So for a player like that, what advice or kind of guidance would you give someone like that, or even maybe an 18-year-old young Ross Barkley?
Well, he's fearless, isn't he? Obviously, from watching some of the games. I actually trained with him a couple of times when he was at Chelsea for a few months. You know, he's a bit shy, but you know, when he came on the training pitch, he was, you know, demanding the ball, and he's a dribbler, and he's a little bit like a left-footed Jack Grealish, similar type of player. Low socks, you know, similar style. But I'd probably say, as a young player, just keep training well, make sure you stay in the team and keep performing, keep working hard, and keep setting high standards and keep striving to be the best you can be, yeah.
And John, I just spoke to Unai Emery in his news conference out of Southampton about you, if you don't mind. and he was really complimentary about you. He said, you know, you're such an important player for the squad, your versatility, your qualities are so important for the squad. But he also said to start the season, your levels were slightly lower because of your fitness and a few things, but now you're getting back there and he wants to see it on a consistent basis. How do you feel, just in terms of your game, your fitness at the moment, and just your overall play?
I'm feeling much more like myself. Obviously, the manager's very demanding, always pushes me, he knows how important I can be to the team. If someone's injured or suspended, I'm available to move positions, happy to just help out. So he knows that, but he knows that I could bring so much more. So he pushed me the last kind of couple of months to hit those levels, and thankfully over the past few games I've started feeling more and more like myself, and hopefully I can keep improving and helping the team.
And just finally, Ross, just ending with you if you don't mind. Of course, no disrespect to Luton, but now you are at Aston Villa playing European football. England have a new manager now in Thomas Tuchel. You, of course, worked under him at Chelsea. So I guess two questions in one. First of all, England aspirations. Do you see an opportunity to get back into that team with a new boss? But also, what was Thomas Tuchel like to work under?
Yeah, well, the thought process of coming back to Villa was obviously to keep improving and to help the club achieve success, but also in the back of my mind was to try and get back in the England side, which I believe I'm capable of. And having played under Thomas Tuchel before and knowing how good of a coach he is, hopefully that might come about. But you know, the main thing's to perform for Villa, and you know, I haven't been a regular starter recently, so as the season progresses, that's the goal of mine, to get in the team and stay in the team, and then hopefully that could come about. But you know, the main thing is just focus on Villa form and helping the team.